Today on the Sim channel, we'll be taking a look at xoxide's offline only unidirectional networks mods. In other words, highways, freeways, and one-way roads. Let's get started, shall we? Now, xoxide's offline only unidirectional networks undone mod allows you basically to build one-way roads as well as highways, freeways. It does not, however, allow you to build tollways as of yet, although that would be a nice thing to see, tollways collecting more taxes for your city. Now, this mod allows you to build tunnels as well as bridges, which is a very nice touch, along with elevated roads. It also allows you to upgrade them, although not all of them will be able to be upgraded, but some of the roads will be able to be upgraded. As you can see now, it's 2 lanes, so that is a nice touch. As you can see, some are not able to be upgraded. But just having that capability in it is a pretty nice feature. And again, you can see that it does go and it does act in some ways like a regular road. You can also make, as you can see just at the top of the screen, roundabouts, and I'll be demonstrating that in the tutorial in just a little bit. Also, for emergency vehicles, as you can see, the emergency vehicle went right through all of this traffic. So it does have special paths for emergency as well as utility vehicles. However, buses will still get stuck in the traffic. So, but as you can see, it does allow certain vehicles, like you have like a slow lane in the middle and then a fast lane on the left. Vehicles that are like garbage trucks, emergency vehicles, will, if the left lane is too crowded, they will go into the right lane. But the right lane seems to be mostly dedicated for trucks and other things like that. But anyhow, let's get started and let's get showing you more of the road features themselves. Alright, so what can you do to find where this mod is? Well, the mod is installed in your roads palette, so all you have to go is click on roads, and then you're going to see quite a few icons. You're going to have a, basically this mod comes with a 2-lane roundabout, which essentially forms just a just a circle roundabout, but it goes in one direction. All these roads, as you're going to see, have arrows. They're going, whoops, they're going to point you in the direction in which you're going. Now, one key thing I'm going to point out right at the beginning is, as you can see, as I'm drawing the roads, you're going to notice that the arrows are going in the direction I'm dragging the mouse. This is very important because, let's say I want to, continue adding a road. I have to draw it in the direction that it's going. So let's say I want to do it. I couldn't do it like this. If you can see right now, the direction I'm dragging it, you can see the arrows are going in the opposite direction. That's bad because if the arrows are going in the opposite direction, the traffic will go in that direction. So you want to make sure that you're dragging it in the direction you want that road to go. Okay. So basically, you have quite a few different roads here, which includes the one-way streets. So you have a one-way medium, one-way low density, a one-way medium density, and a one-way high density. All of these are deletable. So if you make a mistake or anything, you can delete them. And let's go ahead and delete them now. Again, I'm holding Control to fully delete these. There we go. Now I've already laid down a little test thing here to show you. And so with the one-way roads, you can add different RCI to it. I'm going to add business for this particular one. So those are the one-way roads. Now, that's the easy part, all of the roundabouts and the one-way roads. Now let's talk about the more complicated stuff. You have a one-lane freeway ramp. You have a one-way elevated freeway ramp. you have a 1-lane ground to elevated freeway ramp, which connects the ground freeway to the upper level, like so. And then the same thing works. You just have the same one. You have another one that's a 2-lane ramp. And again, elevated. Whoops. Again, elevated. Whoops. Way too steep. There we go. And again, so these are the ramps. And what these ramps do is essentially they work just like regular ramps in a highway system. So here's one in action. We've got the ramps and they're going to connect to the highway. Now, when it comes to the highway, you have a few different choices. Now, granted, all of these are going to look, when you first look at it, like, oh my goodness, it's very complicated. But once you play around with it and everything and get used to it, this is going to be very easy to find out. I might want to lay a power thing down here. Now we put that over there. All right. So again, oh, this might be a nice time to see, let's see if any traffic's good. Oh, right, I need houses here. Put some houses there. Okay, let's actually watch some of the cars and see how they go. See, as you can see, they're going in one direction. Now, granted, this is a multi-lane road. You can use this. This does interconnect with the regular roads. As you can see over there, they are going to the regular roads. And as you can see, they're leaving, so they're following the arrows down there. There we go. We've got some power now. Got some Sims moving in. All right. So, let's get back to the highway system. So, we've got the 1 lane, and essentially it works the same. You're going to have a 2-lane elevated freeway. Whoops, wrong one. 2-lane freeway. Oops, we got that over here, don't we? Okay, so again, we got our 1-way freeway and ramps. Our 2-lane freeway ramps. And then we're going to get a 2-lane elevated freeway. A 4-lane freeway. A 4-lane ground to elevated. Oops. Let's draw the 4-lane elevated. And the ground to elevated works just like so. Now, one thing to note with this is that you cannot connect 2-lane freeways with the 4-lane freeways. It's not going to work for you. You can only connect 2-lane to 2-lane, 4-lane to 4-lane. That is only for the freeways. For the regular roads, the single-way roads, you can connect low density, medium density, whoops, high density. Those work together. For the freeway, it's a little bit more complicated. Now, the ramps will work on either of the freeways, whether they're 1-way or 2-lane. However, this is where it starts to get tricky, but there's a quick tip with this, is that you have to recognize, the tip is right here, is the ground freeway ramps, the ground 2-lane freeway, and the ground 4-lane freeway, the ones that are solo on the ground, those work like regular roads. That's the mechanic they follow. When I draw this 4-lane elevated freeway, you'll notice this green dot and blue line. Basically, that is the mechanic from the Cities of Tomorrow elevated maglev. Okay, so if I were to draw the maglev, well, first I have to put it down. So if I were to draw the maglev, you can see this green and blue thing. Essentially, the elevated portions of the freeway have the mechanic of this, the maglev. So, when you're drawing this, you have to remember the different mechanics of that. So when I'm drawing the road, so that's going to be important. And here's why. Because I cannot draw a lane that's at the ground, these will not connect. Alright? These will not connect. Alright? So this, however, the one that connects, let's say I want to connect the ground to the elevated, that's where this 4-lane ground to elevated works. Oops. There we go. And so that will connect the elevated to the ground, and now we can, oops, if I can get it to, oops. Again, I gotta make sure it's not too steep here. There we go, so we can get it connected. Obviously, it's going in the wrong direction, but that's alright. This is just for trial. So again, if you want to connect the ground works like a road, and the elevated, let's get our elevated 2-lane and our elevated well, I don't think there's is there an elevated single lane? 2-lane freeway. Ground to elevated. No, there is no single elevated freeway. There's just a single ramps. 1-lane ramp. Ground to elevated. 1-lane freeway. Okay, so we just have 1-lane lamps. Right? And the ramps work the same way. The ones that have that, the maglev mechanic will connect to the maglev ones. Okay. And then the ground to elevated works when you can draw it. It works to go back down to the ground, and that's when it will connect with that, with the ground elevated. So that's basically how that works. Now, a thing to note with all of these is that you cannot draw RCI onto the freeways. So let's do this. Okay, if you look, I cannot draw any of the buildings, the RCI, onto the freeways. That is not going to work. It will only work for the single lane roads. So you can think of the 2-lane roundabout, the 4-lane roundabout, the low density, medium density, and high density runway roads. Those work just like your normal roads. Alright, they work just like your normal roads. Okay, when we look at the freeways, they work in the same mechanic as a freeway, and they have 2 mechanics. Alright, the ground freeways have the road mechanic minus the RCI. You cannot draw on any of the freeways. Okay, as you can see. So the freeways will not allow you to draw RCI, which is the commercial, residential, and industry. You cannot draw those on those roads. And the ground ones will have the road mechanic, which means they behave like a road. And the elevated will have the mechanic of the maglev. Speaking of which, let's delete that. Another thing you'll notice is that these highways, they do futurize. So if you want to futurize with this mod, you can have futurization with it. So that mechanic will work. But now let's demonstrate this in action and how you will actually go about drawing it. Okay. Let's actually start here. Let me just make some room here. I'll demonstrate the mechanic. Okay, and we're going to continue on with our freeway over here. Okay, Again, you want to remember that you need to draw it in the direction that it's going. So let's continue this highway. Now, a thing to note is that I cannot go directly ground to elevated. I need this connector, the 4-lane elevated to ground. Now, one thing to note is that that's not, let's say here, that's not going to connect. You have to draw the elevated part first. And again, you have to draw it in the direction you want. So let's say I want to connect the ground one to this elevated ground way. That's what it's called. It's the 4-lane freeway, which I call it the ground one because it's on the ground. Okay. And so if I wanted to connect that, whoops. So first, if I want to have, let's say that, and go to the elevated pier, I would just drag this out, and then I would drag this to it. Now, granted, if it's too steep, you're going to have to kind of eyeball it. So again, there's our ground to elevated. And there we go, it'll connect. And the same thing if we want it to go down. Okay. Now, an interesting thing to note is that when we go back to our ramps, let's go back to our ramps here. The freeway ramp will connect to the ground to elevated. And the elevated freeway ramp will connect to the elevated, but the elevated obviously will not connect. Oh. The elevated will connect to the ground to elevated, but it will not connect to the ground. So, remember that these, when you see anything that has these, it only connects to the ones that have that blue line. Oops. Not sure what that was. Okay. So, these will only draw to the ones with the blue line, and of course they will connect and intersect. You can make some, cool things with that. Okay, to laying ground to elevated, and this is what will connect this to that. And then you can draw your regular ground. So ground, elevated to ground, and elevated. All right, the elevated to ground has the mechanic so that way it can connect with the ground, and the elevated has the maglev mechanic, and the ground to elevated connects the maglev mechanic road to the ground road. So when you trying, and again, it'll show you basically what you want. So I just made a mistake of getting the 2-lane freeway ramp. As you can see, I do not see that green line, and I cannot connect this to the elevated. But when I connect the 1-lane elevated, it will connect. Oh, that's the battery. Oh, battery's not. Oh, derp. Accidentally pulled the plug out. Didn't realize that. That was what that warning was. Okay. Didn't even realize that. Okay, anyhow, back to this. So, and I apologize for that. Alright, so basically, again, when you have that blue bar, that means that you can connect the elevated and the ground to elevated to it. So that's basically how that works. Oh, I'm almost bankrupt here. My people are quite unhappy. Oh, they need water. I've been neglecting them a little too much. Let's just put some water there. I'll work on the rest later. Okay, maybe I'll just go slow then. So, that's basically how the freeway mechanic works. So let's get this out of the way and actually draw something that we want. Such as entrance and exits, like we have over there. Okay, that should do it for now. So let's say I want to make an exit like a real freeway exit. Now, granted, I'm not going to go into the complex ones. I'm just going to show you something that's basic. So let's say I want them to enter and leave. Let's see here. Okay, let's draw it. Yeah, we'll draw it here. Oh, I hope that plane wasn't that loud. So, once I hit the ground, I can start drawing the 4-lane freeway. Trying to get it straight here, but it doesn't want to do it for me. But anyhow, now let's say I wanted to have it start going off early. Oh, another thing is you cannot connect freeways to freeways. So freeways will not connect with each other. However, if I wanted to, I can use a ramp. Oops. And that ramp will connect with the freeway. So if I wanted to get a 4-lane to a 2-lane elevated freeway, that's how I would do that. Or if I was on the ground, I could use the ground and connect it up like so. So let's see here. If I was going to be more realistic, it would probably be something like that. And there we go. So remember, ground to ground, elevated to elevated, and the ground to elevated or elevated to ground essentially connects between the two. So speaking of elevated, let's continue our 4-lane. Again, we gotta remember to drag it in the direction that we're going, or else we're going to end up with the arrows going in the wrong direction, which is not good because that will confuse the traffic and you might end up crashing the computer if you do that, so do keep that in mind. Okay. Okay. Another thing I should mention and demonstrate with this mod, so that kind of gives you an idea of that, of how it connects. Let me draw a road here. Another thing is roads will not be able to connect. However, you can have roads that go above the freeway, like so. So the freeway can go over, so you can get underpasses and overpasses with this. You can raise and lower the ground to elevated. Oops, excuse me, I mean the 1-lane freeway. These you can increase height or draw a tunnel width if you want by using the M or N key. Okay, so you can draw tunnels with these, which can be very useful because, you know, these road networks are very large. So, you know, when you are able to build a tunnel, that just makes things a lot more easier. Now, one thing to note is that you will not be able, due to the terrain, you have to make sure that you have smooth enough terrain in order to connect things to the road. Now, you will not be able to connect anything. Like I'm trying to connect something with it underneath the tunnel. You will not be able to connect roads from the tunnel directly. So that is most unfortunate. But you are able to connect roads outside of the tunnel. Now, one interesting thing to note with the elevated is that the elevated will not, the ones that have the elevated freeway will not cross roads, and it also will not be able to draw bridges across water, especially if the road grade is too steep. So that is one thing to note, because when you have the trestles, it's just a flat trestle. So it will not connect you, and of course it will not cross any of the roads. Now, one interesting note is that you can at sometimes you can, if you want to have a road underneath the trestle, you can draw the trestle first and then draw the road, and then you'll be able to have roads under that trestle. But the trestle itself cannot go over anything that's already laid down. It just won't cross it. Now, and Now, an interesting thing you can do with the highways is you can also connect a high density. Whoops. You can connect a high density road to a freeway like so. So that is an interesting thing that you can do. Um, so I haven't tested it with any of the other one-way roads. Let's look. Um, oh, that might be a bad example there. Let's see. Can you connect? So what you can do, interestingly enough, is you can connect the to the lower non-elevated sections of the freeway. You can connect medium, low, and high density roads to that. So that is kind of interesting that you can do that. But what that allows you to do is it allows you to transform the road into freeway and highway, and it allows you to you know, have the freeway like end like in certain areas, like once you're in residential areas, or you can do that. So that is kind of nice when you're looking for a way to transition the highway, um, into something else. Now, granted, you don't have to do that. Um, okay, so now let's take a look at connecting regular roads to the highway. Obviously, as you know, the regular roads will not be able to intersect the freeway or highway, however you wish to call it, which is, prototypical. Regular roads do not connect directly to highways. They use the ramps. So one of the things that we can do now is we can start drawing ramps, like so. Again, we have to remember that we have to draw it in the direction that it's going. So we can have one that's let's see here. Going like so. So now we've got that connected. We've got this going to that road and this going to that road. But what about this one? We've got that. Oops. Gotta bring that in. Let's see now. If we wanted to, we can also make it elevated. Say we want to continue drawing that road. So again, now we've got a nice little overpass, underpass type system here. Obviously, it could be a lot prettier, but that's basically what you kind of can do. Let's take a look at if I wanted to do it for something else. Obviously, there you can see the tunnel portion. All right, we've got an elevated there. But let's say we wanted an elevated. I'm not going to draw a full thing, but I will demonstrate. Again, here's the two blue lines you can see is the freeway. So that is under the ground. So now we've got some room, because these roads really do take a lot of room. So when you're doing these types of over and under passes, you have to kind of be careful with the room here. Again, you can see the traffic using the one-way lanes here. So again, this is a regular road. It's connected right there, so they'll start going there. When they're coming, they'll use this one, as we saw earlier. But let's take a look at the elevated, and more specifically, um, when we're looking to get off of the elevated ones. Now again, we have to remember that roads will not be able to, whoops, wrong road. Ah, take that back. Okay, so this is probably what the mechanic does. Hold up here. There's the road. Let's see now. No, it will not draw. Okay, so if you want a road to be under the elevated, you need to draw the elevated first, and then regular roads can be drawn under it, like so. And if we want to connect to that road, all we have to do is, again, because this is elevated, we'll need the elevated to ground. Then we want ramps. Again, we see that blue line. Remember, collect blue to blue. And there we go. Say we wanted to connect. And that's how we would do it. Now let's say we had another one. Which one is that? The 2-lane ramp? Oops, I mean the two-way elevated freeway. 2-lane freeway. Elevated freeway ramp. 2-lane freeway ramp. Lane elevated freeway ramp. Where's the 2-lane elevated freeway? Ah, here we go. 2-lane elevated freeway. And now we're going to want the ground to elevated freeway ramp, which will connect like so. And there we go. So this is kind of an ugly version of it, but you can kind of see what you can do. I felt that was important to also highlight some of the things, including some of the bugs that go along with this mod. And most of the bugs are more or less glitches, you know, in the graphics, such as that where you see, you know, like a rail bar, you know, in the road, and obviously that's not real. And some of the ways to fix bugs like that is uh, when you have something like that occur is to simply go into your roads palette and just connect it with the same type of road um, that you're using. So in this case, I'm trying to connect a ramp, 2-lane ramp with another ramp with that road over there, and it was causing that girder issue because that road isn't really meant to be intersecting. So just a few things to note on that, but that is one of the minor things. There's also another glitch which harkens back to the older days in SimCity where you see the terrain. If you're in certain terrains with certain elevations, you'll see some of the dirt covering the road and so forth. Such as right there, you'll see a little graphical glitch where, you know, there's some of that brown stuff that's intersecting the road. But it's not really, you know, much of a deal breaker. It does still occur with regular roads now and then, so, you know, I'm not too worried about that. Those are just minor glitches. As far as traffic goes, as you can see, most of it goes well and goes smooth. So as far as glitches, there aren't that many big ones. And so, but those were the only two graphical issues that I was noticing and I thought I would bring up. And well, this has been a very long tutorial and a mod review, so now let me get to the fun part, because this is supposed to be part of the review. I don't know if I mentioned that. But basically, I would give this mod 2 thumbs up. It's really a great mod. It really allows you to add new dynamics to the game. It really helps, you solve some of those traffic problems that's, always been bothering people. But, it's a fun mod. It allows you to draw, one-way single roads, two-lane roads, and so forth. Hopefully, we'll get a single-lane one-way road. That's not included. It's a two-lane minimum, single lane. But hopefully, we'll be able to get single lane roads that we can tie RCI to and kind of have something like that for our European cities and all of that. So hopefully, as this mod obviously is new, it's very likely going to see more updates and patches. If you'd like to get this mod, the link to the download it is in the description. For those who want to know what the website is, it's Simtropolis. That's where most of the mods that are for SimCity are on. It's on Simtropolis. So that is where that is. And that's going to do it for this review. I'm just going to leave it with a brief overview of my city. Um, Again, there you see the buses getting stuck in the traffic. But anyhow, as I said earlier, but so that's going to do it for this video. I will have more videos coming up next. I will have a video on the train mods, transportation mods, including for the buses, the tram, the elevated Chicago/New York tram by Oppie. Those mods will be coming up in my next video. So please look forward and stay tuned for that. And until next time, everyone, this is Tony for the Sim channel, wishing you all a great day. Please let me know what your thoughts are, what I can do better, or what you liked, disliked, and so forth. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment below in the section where you can comment, and feel free to like or dislike, and also subscribe for more content if you so choose. And well, I'm going to leave it with some footage of my other cities, so of the mod in action. So until next time, everyone, catch you guys next time.